I'm going to go ahead and get started. Let's see if I can figure out how to share my screen and not lose myself here. So start that. All right. Are you guys seeing the slides?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. So thank you for joining. So the purpose tonight is to share some information about how we are going to refocus the flights. And there's been quite a few people that were involved in this conversation. It's drawing on a lot of experience through the years and recognizing where we are today as an organization. And we've got a bunch of people on this call. So as I go through this, there's not a lot of content. Hopefully it'll be pretty straightforward. If you have questions or thoughts, just as I'm going, just throw them in the chat and we'll have time at the end to process that. I probably won't address stuff as it comes up, but feel free as something comes to mind, just throw it in the chat so we keep track of it. I haven't figured out how to multitask and pay attention to the chat and charge through, but go ahead and do that, and then we'll have time at the end if anything comes up for you, any questions, comments, or anything like that. All right, so I'm just going to jump in. So flight refocus, elevating how we achieve our full promise, going from employee to business owner. Let's see, here we go. I always like to give a shout out to Richard, and it's a reality today that there's quite a few people that are in Promise these days that never had the opportunity to know Richard, our co-founder. He and Pat Morris founded the organization back in 1992, and this is Richard, affectionately known as the Gorilla. A lot of people did have the pleasure of knowing Richard, and one of his famous quotes, "Achieving one's promise is the gift of a lifetime, endowing the human experience with nobility," is something that really guides what we do at Promise these days. So I wanted to give a little shout out to Richard. I think I should recognize our sponsors. This has been an innovation over the past 4 or 5 years, and it's pretty cool that we have gotten to a point where we've got organizations like this that are supporting us, which really helps and also increases our connections in the community. So Promise is becoming more of a known entity, and we have a lot of people that are willing to support us, and this creates lots of valuable relationships, and this is a really phenomenal group that is currently supporting us. So I'd like to recognize those as well. All right, so let's get into what we're here to talk about tonight. So I'm not going to assume that everybody is aware of flights. We've got some folks that are brand new on the call. You may have heard a little bit about the flights, and some folks that may have been around for a while that maybe haven't participated in the flight. So let's talk about what are the flights and why are we refocusing or rebooting the flights. So as you all know, Promise is really a one-of-a-kind group that to date, and I think the number is 65. We had Aaron Kaplan and his crew just closed on an acquisition. So I think it's about 65. I might be off by 1 or 2 numbers here, but 65 people have become owners of like 85 companies to date over the past 30 years. And this outcome is the result of members and heroes. We call people that have achieved that dream of business ownership heroes, and mentors, and our advisors, our professional sponsors, sharing expertise and encouragement with each other to help us go from employee to owner, oftentimes and usually for the first time. And so flights are small groups of Promise members that meet monthly to help each other refine their strategy and encourage action towards business ownership. And so why reboot? Why refocus the flights? So as the group has gotten bigger, seeking knowledge and support informally with the variety of people that are involved today, it's just gotten more difficult. And so to address this, we've made some changes to the flights. And so, I was thinking about this when I got involved with Promise. There was like 4 heroes, 4 people that had become business owners back in 2001, and there was about 20 to 25 members. Today, we have 65 people that have become business owners, 80 plus or so active members. That number might be, even higher than that. We've got dozens of past speakers, mentors, sponsors. It's really become a large group of people. And what it reminds me of is I've been involved with some small companies, and when you've got a small company of less than 10 people or so, it's how things work within the organization are kind of obvious. The values, the processes. It's easy to figure out how things work and how to get things done. When that company grows up to be like a 100-person organization like Promise is today, if you don't have proven processes or explicit values or purposeful support, it gets really challenging really fast. And so effectively, Promise has gone from like a startup to a much larger, more complex organization without us really updating a lot of our basic systems to support that. And it's become much harder to access the wisdom and the mentorship and the strategy. Ironically, even though there's a whole lot more, like we have so much more knowledge available today, but it just has become less obvious. When I first joined Promise, it was really obvious who the business owners were. It was easy for me to get to know them. It was very easy for me to ask them to spend time and get ideas and strategies and things like that. And today it's just a little bit more complex. So, and again, just to kind of visualize this. So this is kind of what Promise looked like back in 2001. And today it's like crazy. There's like 85 companies, and this isn't even, I think this is like 60% of the logos. We probably need to update this. So just to give you kind of an idea of what's happened over the years. All right, so what's new with this reboot? So first and foremost, like I said, we've got a lot to draw from. We can look at what's worked across these 65 heroes. And so the first thing that we want to make sure is really front and center with the flights is mentorship. So all the flights are going to be supported by flight mentors. So these are our investors, business owners, heroes, sharing their practical experience from the 30 years of Promise history, the 63, 65 heroes, and beyond. We have board members and advisors that have been attracted to Promise that have incredible experience. People like Kevin Shaw, who have been on the board for years, who are available to us. So all the flights are going to have very purposeful mentorship. The second thing is consistency. So all the flights are going to be actually led by board members. So right now, the new flights are all led by current board members, and in the future, whoever's leading a flight will be on the board, and that way we can ensure sort of predictable, consistent support as you refine and execute your own plan within the flight. So through the years, and this was fine for a long, long time, we'd have volunteers that would lead various flights, and that kind of worked because the individual flight members could access the support and the mentorship and the ideas from the group pretty easily. And then they would come back to the flight and they could kind of refine and support each other and build relationships. We've noticed that as time has gone on, there's a lot less consistency, and that's been a challenge. So we really recognize that the flights are kind of our core way that we create value for the membership. So we want to recognize that and make sure that we're providing that kind of support and that kind of accountability from board members. The next thing is targeted support with proven strategies. So each flight is really going to focus on where each member of the flight is at. So whether somebody's 5 years or more from being ready to actually launch a search to acquire a company, or if somebody is like doing a full-time search right now, we're going to organize the flights to really focus on where those people are at. And we're going to continue to codify and provide a knowledge. So internally, we've generated some best practices and learnings and documented that, so it's easier to share and it's more portable. And we're finding that there's more and more information out there. We're expanding our network. We're having this event on October 27th. You probably saw an email about that. We're really having our first public event, and we've been reaching out and making lots of new connections with people in the Cleveland area that are interested in entrepreneurship through acquisition. And we're finding that there's a lot of great knowledge out there. And we're going to be bringing all that in and sharing that. And I think the flights will be the best way and the most consistent way to share that practical knowledge, whether you're developing relationships with potential investors, or you're trying to generate leads for potential customers, or you're trying to figure out how to build relationships with potential sellers. There's more and more codified knowledge that we're going to be able to bring to the group, and the flights are going to be a great way to deliver that. The last thing here that we recognize is that we really want to make sure that there's commitment from the people that are in the flights, because it's not just the mentors and the flight leaders that are bringing value to the flights. It's the members helping each other. People that are on the journey together, there's so much value in hearing from each other in terms of what they're working on based on where they're at, and what's working, what's not working. And so when people opt in to be part of a flight, there's a commitment to support each other by, A, having a plan, B, making stage appropriate commitments month to month, and C, just showing up. And so the idea is, once the flight schedule is set, there's a commitment. I'm going to be there 80% of the time, whether we're meeting on Zoom, which will be a lot of it because that's just convenient, in person from time to time, because that's just a good idea to help build relationships. And yeah, sometimes our schedules change, something comes up. We want to make sure that we're committed to staying up to date with the flight by sending in a written update prior to the flight meeting if you can't make it in person for some reason, so that the flight knows where you're at, what you're working on, what you've accomplished in the last 30 days or so, what you're working on next, so that everybody stays connected. All right, so what do the new flights look like? So we've organized under 3 flights. And so what you'll see reflected here is a lot of the things I talked about in the previous slide. So I'll start with the bronze flight. So this flight is for anybody who's more than 2 years from launching a search. Okay, so if you feel like you're more than 2 years, and I joined Promise in 2001, and I didn't launch my search until the end of 2005, because as I made the rounds, I realized there's some things that I needed to do. I had to get my personal finances in order. I needed to add some particular experience to my resume that made me more backable to investors. And I need to build relationships with people that could potentially invest with me so that I could acquire the kind of company that I wanted to acquire. So I would have fit in that category when I started in Promise in 2001. Pat Morris, who's one of our co-founders, is going to lead that flight, and Barbara Lindsay, who's on the call tonight, is one of the mentors. And over time, I suspect that we'll have maybe 2 or 3 mentors, but to have Pat Morris and Barbara supporting a flight like that is remarkable. I was very fortunate when I first got involved with Promise. I asked Barbara while I was preparing to mentor me, and I was running a company down in Medina, and she lived down there. We met once a month together, and that worked back in those days. It was phenomenal to have that kind of support and insight, and she was instrumental in helping me get prepared. We're bringing that kind of support directly into the flight. So that's the bronze flight. So the silver flight are people that are within 2 years of launching a search, people that are searching part-time, or people that are in right-hand person positions. And so I'm going to lead that flight. Dan Farrar is going to be a mentor in that flight. And we're really going to focus. There's, what you need to be thinking about, or the things that you want to be working on when you're getting within a couple of years of launching a search, start to become a little bit different than things that you might be doing when you're like two years away. So we're gonna support that group. Then there's the gold flight. So this is people that are searching full time. We've got a group that's been meeting, that's mostly people searching full time. Aaron Kaplan's going to continue to lead that. Kevin Shaw, Pat Morris, and myself are gonna continue to be mentors of that flight. And that group is, they have very specific things that come up, and sometimes that changes, call to call. Somebody might be trying to get an LOI signed. Somebody might have an LOI signed. They're trying to get financing put together, or they're trying to differentiate. They've got an opportunity that they're talking to a seller, and the seller's talking to multiple buyers, and they're trying to differentiate. So those calls are pretty interesting. So these are the 3 flights: bronze, silver, gold. All right, let me continue. So some FAQs. So here's some questions that I thought folks might have. And this is definitely an opportunity. If I'm not covering something or a question has come up, let's get them into the chat. This is pretty much the last slide, and then we'll turn it over and see what kind of questions folks have. And I'm really interested in hearing the questions, because, hey, we have an opportunity to keep refining and improving. And that's something that we definitely want to do. So first question: what if I have to miss a flight meeting? No problem. Send an update based on your last meeting. So one of the typical things that's going to happen at the flight is, let's say I'm in the silver flight, and one of the things I'm working on is starting to develop relationships with people that might potentially advise me or invest with me. And I might say, I'm gonna, my commitment this month is I'm gonna build a list of 5 or 6 people that I could reach out to. Okay. And that'll be your commitment when we get together next. The idea is, how'd that go? Is it done, not done? And so let's say you have to miss the meeting. Basically, you shoot an email to the flight leader and say, hey, my commitment last month was to identify a list of 5 or 6 potential investors that I can reach out to. I got that done, and my commitment in the next 30 days is to schedule a meeting with at least one of them. Awesome. You're good to go. Okay. And so, okay, next question. Can I be in promise if I'm not a hero yet and not in a flight? Absolutely, you can do that. But my question is, why would you do that? Okay, like this is where the magic happens. But yeah, if you want to be in promise, if for whatever reason, that's great. You're welcome to do that. But the flights are really where we get practical, we get specific, and we make things happen. Next question: I'm a hero. How can I participate in flights? Anybody who's achieved the dream of business ownership is highly encouraged to pay it forward and mentor a flight. So there are some folks that have been in promise for a while that have created sort of informal flights for various reasons, and that's great. The gold, silver, and bronze flights are really where we're going to focus the core of promise support and operations and how we create value for members. And so this is what we're going to focus on. And if you've achieved that dream, we would love the support. And if we had 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mentors in a flight, that's just great. It will work, and having more wisdom, the better. So can I check out other flights? So let's say I'm in the bronze flight. I'm 3 or 4 years from when I think I'm going to be ready to launch a search. Can I sit in on the silver flight, or can I sit in on the gold flight? Absolutely. People can audit any flight at any time. We're gonna focus the actual conversations during the flight meeting on the people that are at that stage and in that flight, just so that we can make sure they're getting the support that they need. But if you're just curious, what's going on with folks that are like searching full time, what does that look like? I would encourage you to do that, and you're welcome to do that. And you can audit those flights anytime. How big will the flights be? So we will create a, a gold 2, a silver 2, a bronze 2, subject to numbers after the new flights are well established and operating in the new process. So we think each flight can support about 8 to 12 people who are like in the flight being supported, not including the flight leader, not including the mentors. So likely what will happen is we're gonna get started. We'll see how many folks are in each flight. And then if we're getting close to, like, say 14, 15 people, we'll probably split and create 2 flights operating the same way, just so we can make sure that we're providing, a lot of direct support. So how do I progress from one flight to the next? So when you're ready, if you're like, hey, I've been in the silver flight for a little while, I'm ready. I think in the next, 18 to 24 months, I've got my plan together. I think I'm going to be ready to launch a search. Basically, if you're in the bronze flight, you just send me a note and say, hey, I want to be in the silver flight. Here's where I'm at. Here's what I'm doing. And we'll be very excited to see you make that step. Not a lot of formality. It's just a matter of notifying the group and saying, hey, I'm ready to, jump into the next level. All right, so what are the next steps? So I think tomorrow, Lauren's going to send out a flight survey. And basically all it is it's literally, it will take 45 seconds. She sent it to me and I completed it. It just basically asks, where are you at? And do you want to participate in a flight? And that's just going to give us a way to know who wants to be in what flight. And that way we'll get everybody set up and started in the right spot. By the end of the month, you'll get notified in terms of what flight you're a part of. And based on where you're at, you already kind of know where you're going to end up. If you don't hear back, if you want to be in a flight, you don't hear back for some reason, just reach out to Lauren. Lauren is our Promise administrator. So if you're not familiar and you haven't met Lauren, one of the great innovations a couple of years ago is we finally partnered with Lauren. Has her own business and they provide administrative support to organizations like Promise, and it's been an absolute game changer in terms of our ability to stay organized and communicate with the community. And this is her email address right here, admin@promise-partners.org. So if you don't hear back, shoot Lauren an email and we'll make sure we get you into the flight. And then on October 3rd, we're going to have an in-person new flight orientation. So we're going to do it at Fathom's headquarters. It's over in the West Bank at 2020 Center Street. I didn't put the time on here. I think we're planning at like 6:30. Lauren, do you know off the top of your head? I think I got it in the calendar.
I believe 6:30 was the time we were talking about.
Yeah, so it's in the evening. We're going to do it in person, and we'll basically at that point we'll walk through. As a flight participant, what do you mean I got to have a plan? What does that look like? We'll share what that looks like, and give you some suggestions on how to put a plan together based on what stage you're at. It may be possible that we can get some of the scheduling done. I think each of the flight leaders is going to schedule a kickoff meeting, and one of the first orders of business in that kickoff meeting, and that'll probably happen sometime in October would be my guess. The first order of business will be everybody in the flight get their calendars out. And let's negotiate what recurring day and time is going to work for us, so that we can all commit to showing up and supporting each other. So that's going to happen on October 3rd, and then from there we're just going to get into the regular flight rhythm, and you'll learn everything that you need to know about the flights from there, and then we're just going to get busy supporting everybody so that they can go from employee to owner as quickly as possible in the way that suits them best. All right, that's it. I would love to hear any questions, comments. Let's see, just checking All right, I don't see anything in the chat. I don't take it personally. And throw it in the chat or just shout out anything, any questions, any comments. Like I said, I want to make sure anything that you say will definitely help us make sure that we are prepared. All right, will the copy of the slides be made available? Yes. Not only will we share the slides, we're recording this. So we're going to send this out. It looks like we've got, 24, 25 people. I think we had like a little more than that RSVP. So we will send out the slides and the recording of this for people that didn't make it tonight. Anything else? Okay, a couple questions coming in. What is the difference between a runner and a gold flight member? Okay, so yeah, so we throw the word around. If somebody's searching for an acquisition, we've called that person a runner. So a running person. So that means they are searching to acquire a company. So there are some folks that are searching part-time, and that's fine. Personally, and a lot of people might say that a part-time search creates some risk that somebody searching full-time doesn't necessarily experience as much as, and we're not going to get into all the details about that. But if people are searching part-time, their needs are going to be a little bit different than somebody who's like full-time, fully committed, doing it every day. So a runner in the gold flight is searching full-time. So they've burned the boats at the beach. They are spending all day, every day searching. And people in the silver flight who are still working, maybe they're working full-time, maybe they're consulting most of the time, and they're searching as well part-time, they'll be in the silver flight. Did I answer the question? Is that from you, Mike?
Yep, you did. I didn't realize that a runner could be a part-time searcher, that's all.
Yep.
Okay.
And so Ken, yes. So if you're in Philly, like Ken, you're in Philly, right? Is that right? Still there? No problem. We'll make accommodations for that. So my guess is 75% of the flight meetings are going to be on Zoom anyway. And then we'll want to do like maybe every third flight meeting we'll do in person, because that's just a good way to build the relationships and support each other. And if a flight member is living out of town, and I think Ken lives in Philly, what my flight is, we'll meet in person, and we'll have the Zoom open so that Ken could join, for instance, and the other flight leaders will do that too. So and if you can make it in person because you happen to be in Cleveland, awesome. But no problem if you're literally out of town. Joining a in-person flight meeting via Zoom, we'll work to accommodate that as much as possible for sure. Any other thoughts, questions? I think I got everything that popped up in the Zoom. All right, let's see. So Ted says, is there a flight where you can find out more about each person's experience? Okay, so one of the things that will happen early on with each flight is each flight member will start off sharing their background so their fellow flight members can get to know them, and talking about where they are in the process and what their goals are to move them closer to ownership are in the next, say, 12 months. That'll be a standard step in the flight process. And so all the flights will do that. So Ted, within the flight that you're in, you'll definitely have an opportunity and you'll get to know your fellow flight members pretty well. And then as far as like getting to know other folks, that the opportunity to do that is, at the quarterly meetings, there's a little bit of information about folks in the Promise Partners directory. And of course, feel free to stalk everybody on LinkedIn or whatever you want to do to get to know them better, that way. But Ted, does that answer your question? You're on mute. I'll take that as I'll take it as a yes. Pop off on mute if not. All right, more questions. Pretty straightforward. All right, well, let's see, hold on, there's Dale. All right, do new members go right into one of these flights, or is there still a new member orientation? It's a both and. So yes, we're gonna bring new members right into the flights, and we will also provide some additional support similar to what's been done in the past. I'll have to defer to Sean. He's flying back from out of town right now in terms of what the game plan is for the new members, but the new members will go right into flights. No reason not to. So that survey comes out, all the folks that are on the call tonight that are new, just fill out the survey and we'll get you plugged into a flight right away. All right. Excellent. Well, hey, if something comes up after we wrap up, or you think of something as we're going through the process, just shoot us a note, send Lauren an email, probably the best way, and we'll make sure that we get that handled. But if there's no other questions, I think that's a wrap. Anybody have any closing comments or thoughts before we wrap it up? All right. We purposely schedule this stuff right around dinner time because that tends to keep people focused on having a nice, efficient conversation and meeting. Well, I really appreciate you all showing up. I'm looking forward to rolling this out, and anybody that ends up in the silver flight, it'll be great to, I know a lot of you really well. It'll be great to get to know you even better. And I look forward to kicking this off, and we'll talk further on October 3rd. All right, everybody. We'll call it a wrap. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.